Bé, moltes gràcies a tots i a totes per ser aquí. Veig moltes cares conegudes, o sigui que avui em sento en família. Dono les gràcies també al Monestir de Poblet, que ens acull avui, i al Lluís Marcel, que ens acaba de donar la benvinguda. Som en un espai únic, patrimoni de la humanitat, i un referent pel que fa a la difusió de la cultura. Són uns actors imprescindibles del turisme cultural de casa nostra. La darrera actuació, que aquells que vulgueu podreu veure al final de la jornada, tal com us ha anunciat en Lluís, és el centre de visitants que incorpora les darreres novetats tecnològiques en la benvinguda al públic que ve al monestir. Aquesta jornada, que organitzem des del Patronat de Turisme de la Diputació de Tarragona, com sabeu, s'emmarca en l'operació Patrimoni Cultural del projecte d'especialització i competitivitat turística en família, que impulsem des de la nostra entitat. Avui parlarem, naturalment, d'innovació i també coneixerem iniciatives de referència en la millora de l'acollida de les famílies als recursos patrimonials. Coneixerem, a més, formes innovadores de participació dels nens i nenes en la millora del disseny i la programació cultural dels museus i els equipaments culturals. Aquests espais ofereixen un entorn únic on passar temps de qualitat amb la família, una oportunitat per connectar lluny de les obligacions diàries. Si bé és cert que actualment molts museus tenen una política d'accés que anima la participació, durant molt de temps no s'han considerat un lloc adequat pels nens i no se'ls ha tingut en compte com un públic prioritari en la seva planificació i pressupost. Però això ha començat a canviar. I aquest canvi, tothom en sortim beneficiats. Primer, per suposat, les famílies amb la canalla, que recordem, són els futurs adults. Però també els mateixos espais culturals, que són capaços d'obrir el seu públic potencial i ampliar el nombre de visites. I d'aquesta manera també poden fer en millors condicions la funció per la qual van néixer, transmetre i difondre el patrimoni. Incloent les famílies i els infants, aquest coneixement es comparteix d'una manera transversal i universal, inclusiva i efectiva, establint un diàleg permanent i interactiu amb els visitants, socialitzant realment el coneixement. En aquesta jornada volem explorar aquests casos, amb especial atenció a aquells que han donat veu als infants i a les famílies. I això ens connecta directament amb l'oferta de turisme cultural, que també des del sector turístic hem de ser capaços de posar a l'abast del públic familiar. D'acord amb el programa previst, començarem anant una mica més enllà i anirem fins al Regne Unit per conèixer la feina feta per l'entitat Kids in Museums. També allargarem la mirada cap a França i coneixerem l'experiència de Montmartre. Després farem un petit break per agafar forces i encararem la segona part de la jornada. I sabrem què fan i com funcionen els consells d'infants dels 3 museus de ciències de Granada, Barcelona i València. Reflexionarem plegats sobre aquest instrument participatiu en què els infants són protagonistes i posarem en comú idees i estratègies. Acabarem, aquells que tingueu interès, amb la visita que comentàvem al principi al nou centre de visitants del monestir. Bé, com veieu, tenim feina per endavant, així que comencem a posar fil a l'agulla. Iniciem aquesta jornada interessant-nos per la feina que al Regne Unit fa l'entitat Kids in Museums. Es tracta d'una organització que treballa amb els museus de tot el país per fer-los més atractius i acollidors pels infants, les famílies i els joves. La seva directora és l'Alison Bowyer. Ella ens explicarà aquesta tasca. Ho farà a través d'un vídeo que ha preparat expressament per nosaltres. Així doncs, comencem escoltant què té a explicar-nos l'Alison de Kids in Museums des de Londres.
Hello, my name's Alison Bowyer and I'm the Executive Director of Kids in Museums. I'm delighted to have been invited to speak to you today about our manifesto and the other work that Kids in Museums does. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person in your beautiful venue and the excuse it would have offered me to escape the UK winter. Kids in Museums is a UK-based charity that's been around for about 10 years and exists to make museums better places for children, families and young people to visit. We know that there are many benefits to visiting museums in terms of health and well-being, learning and education, civic participation, volunteering and an opportunity to spend time with people socially and enjoy yourself. We also know from UK data that access to museums isn't equal. Around 40% of 5 to 15-year-olds in the UK didn't visit a museum last year, according to government statistics. This figure is even higher when you look at people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, people from non-white backgrounds, and people who have a disability or life-limiting illness. These people not visiting museums sets up patterns for life. We know that children who visit museums with their families are much more likely to become lifelong visitors than their peers, and that's why it's so important that we make museums as welcoming as possible. Although cost is a factor in why people don't visit museums, studies have shown that that's often not the main reason. We know that people who don't visit museums are worried and don't feel comfortable when they visit. They think they're going to be told off for either how they or their children behave, they're not going to know what to do, and they're not going to have a good time. These barriers tend to be bigger than cost, and they are ultimately what puts a lot of children and families off visiting museums. The Kids in Museums Manifesto was created to help museums overcome a lot of these barriers. The manifesto is based on what children and families think makes a great museum visit. Earlier this year, we talked to about 200 families, children and young people, including people at children's centres, Girl Guides and Scouts, and museum youth panels. We asked them about their experiences of visiting museums, and then we distilled it down into 6 easy to follow points that we think all museums should be able to aspire to be great places for families to visit. Museums can use the manifesto in a variety of ways. They can use it as an audit tool to look at their front of house provision, their activities, their displays, and think about how well they work for children and young people and make improvements. They can use it with their staff as an advocacy tool to make them think about the importance of this group of visitors. Families make up at least 1/3 of the visitors at most museums, so this group has huge power in terms of how they spend and how they build the reputation of the museum. Finally, the manifesto can be used as a tool to communicate what your museum's values are to the wider public. By signing up to our manifesto, more of which later, and displaying our logo on your website, you can communicate to everyone that you're a museum that welcomes family visitors. I'm now going to talk through the manifesto and give some easy takeaways from feedback we've received for families for each point. The first point of our manifesto is about being welcoming. This is about how you make families feel when they arrive in your space. It sounds really obvious, but saying hello is really important. We know that not all museum staff welcome families or feel confident doing so. So building that up with your staff, making them feel that it's okay to speak to the whole family is really important. We also know that when they arrive, families want to know what's going on for them during the day. Can you think about having a family notice board or making sure that all your staff know about all of the family activities that are going on during the day? That way families can find out everything they need to know really easily and quickly. Finally, building families' confidence about how they feel in your space is vital. Signage is a crucial part of this equation. Thinking about how you can tell families what to do positively and encouragingly, rather than telling them no, makes for a great family experience. Think about how you can explain to people how they can be in your space without being off-putting, and where they really can't do something, that's completely fine. Think about explaining constructively why families can't do something, rather than being too negative in your tone and language. The second point of the manifesto is about making a visit easy and comfortable. When most families arrive at your museum, that won't be the first thing they've done that day. They might have had a difficult journey on public transport, the weather might be terrible, or one of the children might have not liked something on the way. Getting to the museum door is quite difficult. So when they do get there, they want their visit to be as simple, straightforward and relaxing as possible. Families come in all shapes, sizes and range of ages, and you want to think about your facilities from this point of view. Is there in your museum something for everyone and all the things that everyone needs? For families with babies and young children, is there somewhere they can park their buggy or pram if they can't take it round the museum, and maybe you could offer a sling to make things easier for them? Is there a private space where mothers can breast or bottle feed if they want to and don't feel comfortable doing so in public? Is there adequate changing facilities, and do you offer nappies and other products if they unfortunately get caught short? All of these things sound small, but they really matter to these families. For older children and teenagers, is there free Wi-Fi so they can get on social media and talk about the experiences they're having online? Thinking about your displays and exhibitions, do you have objects at different heights so smaller children can see them easily? If you don't, is there a way to have them stacked so people can climb up and look at them? Thinking about your displays and the way they're written, is the language accessible? And are there things in the exhibitions that people of all ages can enjoy and talk about together? So you don't want to focus too much on one area. If you have a children's trail, that's brilliant, but are there things for the adults in the family to do and enjoy at the same time? And are there things where all generations can get involved? This all relates to point 3 of our manifesto, which is thinking about families that come in all shapes and sizes. Once upon a time, the typical family was 2 adults and 2 children. This is really no longer the case, and it's really important for museums to cater to this. One place where this really matters is with ticketing. Most family tickets still allow only 2 adults and 2 children into a museum. Can you think about being more flexible with this? Are you able to offer a ticket, for example, for single parent families, which is slightly cheaper? How do you accommodate grandparents or godparents bringing their children to the museum? We've already talked a lot about catering for different ages with facilities and activities, and this is really, really crucial. Children who enjoy museums as families, as we said, are more likely to come back. So creating these really great intergenerational experiences where everyone is having fun together are really vital. Earlier on, I mentioned that access to museums isn't equal. And the 4th point of our manifesto is all about accessibility. This is an area where museums can really level the playing field and make themselves into spaces where people from all ages, backgrounds and abilities can come together and have a great social experience. Access isn't just about how people can physically get in and out and around your buildings. It's about thinking about the information that you provide beforehand. It's about thinking about your pricing and your financial and economic accessibility. It's also about thinking about your cultural and intellectual accessibility, so everyone really feels welcome. A UK-based organisation called Ewan's Guide did a survey of families with disabled children, and they found that about 95% of them checked a website to find out how they could access a museum before visiting. If this information wasn't there, more often than not, they just wouldn't go. So, start off by doing an audit of the information that your website provides. Does it tell you about all the access requirements for different groups of people? For example, people who are wheelchair users, people with autism or who are neurodivergent, or people with a visual or hearing impairment. As well as providing great information, you obviously need to think about your space. Some access requirements are really expensive, but there are small things that you can do to make things easier for people. I'm not an access specialist, but I would really recommend, if you can afford it, having an access audit to make sure your space is working as well as it possibly can. Thinking about financial accessibility, people want to be able to afford to have a great day out at your museum. This includes visiting the shop, visiting the cafe, as well as buying a ticket if there is an admission price. Can you think about your museum from the point of view of what people can do for free if they have a little bit saved up or if they wanted to spend a lot on a great day out? Do you have things that meet all those price brackets? For example, in your shop, are there inexpensive pocket money style toys for children? And if people want to have a free day out, are there places they can get free drinking water and that they can eat their own food if they want to? Thinking about cultural and intellectual accessibility, does your museum provide information and leaflets in different languages that are relevant to your community? Also, what is the reading level of the information panels provided? Could it be read by people of different abilities if they needed to? These are just a few things you can do. And if you have specific questions, there are lots of resources on the Kids in Museums website about working with families to improve access, as well as a great report by another UK organisation called Vocalise, which talks a lot about the access requirements of different groups. The fifth point of our manifesto is all about communication. We've already touched on some of this, thinking about how you welcome a family into your space and tell them about your activities, and how providing better access information on your website can be really important for families with additional needs. Communication, though, is wider than all of this, and it's something that we get a lot of feedback about. As well as providing access information on your website, can you have a section for families? This could answer all of the questions that a first-time visitor want answered, like, can I bring my buggy with me? Is there somewhere I can eat my own food? Things that might seem obvious to people who work in museums, but really wouldn't be if you've never been before. As well as this, you might be able to suggest some things that families can do while they're in the museum. This will help to build their confidence that they're going to have a good day out. Also think about the families that you represent in your communications. If you've got a family section on your website, or just in your marketing more generally, think about having pictures of families having a good time, and in those pictures thinking about representing the diversity of your whole community. As well as thinking about your website, think about your social media channels. We know in the UK that Facebook is a massive source of information about family events. It's also free or really low cost to promote things on Facebook, so this could be a good channel to bring new families into your museum. For teenagers, social media is also important, but perhaps slightly different channels. Instagram is popular, and you may also want to consider how you represent your museum or use tools like Snapchat. Maybe you want to have a special Snapchat filter that people can use. As well as talking to people through your website and social media, think about other ways that you can reach out to families. Can you go to places in your local area where families regularly visit? These might be families that would otherwise not know about your museum. Are there, for example, local farmers markets or fairs? Or can you just go out to the local shopping centre to promote what you do? This will widen the audience that you're talking to and make people feel that the idea of visiting a museum is something that might be for them. Finally, think about how you gather and respond to feedback. Families want to be asked what they think about your museum, and they want to feel that their voices matter. Think about how you respond to reviews on sites like TripAdvisor, or how you respond to tweets or Facebook posts. Also think about how you gather feedback in the museum and how you show that you act on that. Finally, make sure that you're staying in touch with your family visitors. Think about having something like a family newsletter so that people can carry on finding out what's going on and build a relationship with your organisation. The final point of our manifesto is about working together. This means thinking about how you represent the voices and stories of the families and young people who visit your museum in your displays and activities. By doing this, they'll feel really included and feel that you'll really want them to be part of your museum community. There are a number of ways you can think about including family stories in your museum. Could you, for example, have a community case or space where you can invite people in to put on their own exhibitions? Also, think about how you tell the stories of a variety of different groups. There's a great example from a London-based museum called the Horniman, where their Access Advisory Group used objects from the World Culture Gallery to tell stories about disability. This has been a permanent part of the display in the museum for over a year now. It means that they're able to represent a much wider range of people. As well as thinking about the stories you're telling, think about who's making decisions in your museum. Can you set up a youth panel so you have a regular opportunity to consult with young people about your programs and displays and get them to plan new things for you? A great way to do this could be running a Kids in Museums program called Takeover Day. On Takeover Day, children and young people do adults' jobs in museums for the day. This can be anything from writing a press release or taking over a social media feed to running the whole museum or setting up a new exhibition. This is a brilliant way to bring these voices into your work. If you want to go one step further, you could also think about how you involve young people more permanently in running your museum. At Kids in Museums, we have 2 young trustees, as well as a youth panel, to make sure that we have youth voices represented. Is this something that you could challenge your organisation to do? Those are the 6 points of our manifesto. We think that these are things that any museum can aspire to do, and that by doing them, they'll not only be a better place for families, children and young people to visit, they'll be a better, more welcoming place for everyone to visit. If you want to sign up to the manifesto, there's a form on our website. Once you've signed up, we'll send you a logo for your website and we'll add you to our map. The more museums that sign up, the better it is for us. We can create an international community of best practice for working with children, families and young people in museums. And we can also advocate more for more funding, better awareness of the benefits and more learning in this area. So I'd encourage you to sign up and join us. When you sign up, we'll welcome you on social media, and we also have a regular feature called Manifesto Monday, which you can take part in. In addition to our manifesto, Kids in Museums runs a number of other programs that you might be interested in. I've already mentioned Takeover Day, where children and young people go into museums and do adults' jobs for the day. This takes place annually in November. It just happened last week, and we're already planning 2020 dates. We welcome museums from around the world to do Takeover Day. So if you're interested, there's more information on our website and a number of free resources, including examples of a timetable and roles that children and young people can do. The benefits of taking part in Takeover Day are wide-ranging. Not only will you get children's and young people's voices into your space, but they're more likely to want to become regular museum visitors and to want to take part in other activities and events. Also, it gives them a better idea of the range of jobs that are available in museums, which in the long run we hope will contribute to bringing a wider group of people into the workplace. As well as takeovers, we also run digital takeovers where children and young people take over social media feeds. This is mainly Twitter and Instagram, but can also work on blogs, websites and Facebook too. This happens annually every summer, and we usually manage to get our hashtag trending, which means it's a great way to raise the profile of your museum. As well as all of this, Kids in Museums has over 100 free resources on its website, and we'd really welcome you to take a look and to sign up to our newsletter. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you this morning, and I hope you've enjoyed hearing about our manifesto and the other work Kids in Museums does. I'm now happy to take any questions.
Bé, fins aquí la presentació de l'Alison.